Hey, now what's going on? What's going on? This is the Green, Mr. Green, better yet known as the Green Okie, back at you again with another video breakdown. So today's video is going to be for those horror enthusiasts out there. So if you're anything like me, you like sitting back and watching a good old horror movie from time to time or all the time, and you just don't wait for that Halloween feeling to come over you. So I want to give my top 10 horror movies that would be ruined if the iPhone was invented back during their creation. So I can literally count on one hand the number of horror movies that I have enjoyed in the past 5 years or so. I think a big part of the reason for the decline in horror movies is the cell phone, of course. The reason why I'm mentioning this list is because I recently saw the movie Talk to Me, which is one of those horror movies that is a microcosm of a generation, somewhat like, American Pie kind of summed up my generation, or Super Bad for the generation afterwards. I really liked how it kind of showed how, us millennials or whatever generation this may be thinks. So, to be honest, I didn't expect to like the movie at all, but it was actually a solid A, B ish movie. It combined this millennial mindset with modern horror, which made it utterly believable throughout the whole movie. And I really came in to that movie with an open mind. I wasn't trying to really criticize it or judge it too harshly. I accepted it for what it was. You know, Millennials literally fucking with the dead and filming it. If this doesn't scream modern horror, then I don't know what does. I mean, during my generation, kids got high off magic markers, but these kids get high off the dead. So that's some other shit I don't even want to talk about. But I digress. I'm here to give you my top 10 horror movies that would have never been made and or would have sucked if the cell phone was created back then. So here we go. And this list is in really no particular order. I'm just naming some of my favorite horror movies. So I'm going to start off. So we got Jeepers Creepers 1. So seeing how badly the fourth Jeepers Creepers film sucked, it's no wonder I lost faith in this franchise. And the iPhone didn't have anything to do with that. God damn. I mean, goodness. How can you fuck up a movie so bad that you make Jeepers Creepers 3 look like a Nightmare on Elm Street? I mean, I'd rather go back and just lock myself in a room and watch Jeepers Creepers 3 all day rather than 10 minutes of Jeepers Creepers 4. I mean, goodness. I mean, oh my God. What a way to ruin and just kill a franchise. Well, at least we got 1 and 2 to reminisce on. But anyway, well, I want to talk about this movie because, hey, do you remember that scene during the first Jeepers Creepers movie where, he started kind of throwing the bodies down that cold chute or whatever? Now, just imagine. Now, what if Trish and Derry or whatever had a cell phone and they just happened to be filming it, right? Now, there was some bad location out there, obviously, but not every place was going to have bad location. And then that could have been the moment that they could have sent it to the authorities, and somebody would have saw it, and the whole movie would have went viral. Psh, done. The movie's done. There's no more going back. There's no more following up. You just let social media take over, be the judge, have all these people coming out there. The creeper can't get everybody. He only got a certain time. So in those 23 days, he'll probably get a couple people to come out there. But when them people come up missing, and then those people come up missing, then it's going to get serious. and somebody's gonna eventually get them, and that's gonna be it. You know, so the whole plot for me would have been ruined if there was an iPhone back then. So that's my take on it anyway. The movie finishes as soon as they see him dumping the buddies down there. They take a cell phone, they film them, and then they send it to the authorities. Movie's finished. Done. Okay, now the next movie I want to talk about is Halloween. Oh, yes, John Carpenter sure does know how to make some masterpieces. When it comes to the William Shatner mask, right? But anyway, remember when Michael finds the little boy in the closet and Donald Pleasance kind of shoots him in the hallway? Well, there happens to be somebody filming right behind him. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was somebody else, But, they film him falling off the ledge. They film him incidentally, when Donald goes and checks on Lori, and somebody just films him walking away. They actually film him walking down the street. Somebody films him taking off his mask. So that takes care of Halloween 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, H2O, Resurrection, and everything in between, right? So now the whole movie is ruined because now everybody knows where Michael hides at. Everybody knows his real identity. Everybody knows that he's some type of supernatural force. So guess what? Now the authorities are taking everything serious. The authorities have maybe escalated it to the National Army. Maybe the authorities have escalated it, to the National Guard or whatever. It's been escalated. They know that this person has supernatural. Now we're coming with a big old bomb to shoot them and end them forever. Case in point, the iPhone has ruined this movie and the franchise. So I'm gonna go to the next one. Okay, Nightmare on Elm Street. So Wes Craven is one of the horror directors I wish were still alive today, because like I was saying, horror sucks so bad right now, and I just really can't stand it. So it sucks so bad, and living under the stairs wouldn't be so bad. Did you see what I did there? Did you see what I did? Okay, anyway. So do you remember when Heather Langenkamp's hair turned gray when she was sleeping in the classroom? Well, the movie's finished right there. Bam, there I go, taking a movie, taking the little iPhone movie, and now I was sent today. Did you see this crazy woman's hair turn color? Yeah, man, that's some crazy stuff. Okay, well, maybe people don't believe me then. Okay, well, do you remember when Heather Langenkamp went to the hospital and she pulled that hat out? Well, okay, well, now we're going to say we got some cameras in there, and it's going to show that hat magically coming out of nowhere as soon as she wakes up. Okay, so, we're going to do it again. Now, okay, so you telling me people still don't believe you after this? Now, by this time, social media has started to get involved. And they've been replaying this video of this hat coming in and out of nowhere. They've also replayed her hair changing colors in the classroom while simultaneously just sleeping. So now social media is chiming in, right? So now, okay, maybe not enough for you still. Well, how about this? You remember that scene where Heather takes, precautions in her room and kind of sets up this little Home Alone death trap for Freddy when she brings him out the dream? Well, let's just pretend, she had some iPhones around in there as well, just for proof. Bam. As soon as Freddy appears out of thin air, that's all social media would need. So now everyone is going to put all the clues and the dots together, and there you go. The movie is finished. The franchise is finished. Everyone believes Heather. There's no Dream Warriors. There's no Freddy's Revenge. There's no Dream Child, because now everybody's looking into it. Everybody's investigating how did this happen and what went on and so on and so forth, right? So, there's no more bad dreams and stuff like that. So, once again, the iPhone has ruined this movie. The secret and the mystique of Freddy is gone. Okay, now for the next one, we're going to talk about Candyman, right? So Candyman. I'm sorry, I just had to do it once. A staple in many of our childhood horror cinematic dreams was this guy right here. His voice alone makes you feel like you've been impaled by the most gruesome baby mama child support that you can ever imagine, right? But nevertheless, it ain't as worse if a cell phone was back then, right? Now here we go. Now this movie can kind of be ruined in a couple ways because if you counting a cell phone as a mirror, just something that you can kind of see your reflection in. I guess technically it's not a mirror, but I mean if you can see your reflection in there, you change the camera settings around and then say his name, then technically everybody to do it, they should all see Candyman at the same time, right? But let's just pretend, somebody's seeing bees come out his mouth. Maybe somebody's seeing him have a hook for a hand. Hey, I know what you did last summer. I know what you did with my child support last summer. Like, So there you go, right? So, once again, we you see how easily this horror movie has been ruined. The mystique of going into the bathroom and saying his name 3 times. Because I remember doing that whenever I was growing up. And I was scared shitless to go in there and say his name. Because I was thinking like, oh, he's going to appear if I go in there. And I was really petrified, But, now it's like, hey, somebody's always filming, or there's always some type of camera by. So how can this person remain an anomaly? I mean, even if he's invisible, and if the person is dying, and if you catching that on camera, and that person is dying, they know there's a supernatural force out there. So bam, people stop saying his name, and then they forget about him. The movie franchise is finished. There you go, right? So, I'm just pointing out, do you really see how easy it is that these movies are being ruined by an iPhone? I mean, it's really ridiculous, I'm so glad the iPhone wasn't invented back when I was growing up. But on to the next one. Okay, Pumpkinhead. Oh yeah, the sweet sound of revenge, or should I say the vengeance demon, Pumpkinhead. Yeah, so, like I was saying, I listened to Tupac the other day, the revenge, only thing better than revenge is getting some pussy, right? So, but that's another story there, Keefy D, who shot you, right? But, I don't know. But, hey, this is a fairly easy one, as, the demonic beast is conjured up. His victims can easily film that old woman while she's doing the ceremony. They can film whoever, Ed Harley or whatever, digging up this grotesque looking, I don't know, shaved cat looking thing, spink, I don't know. They can film him digging it up, and they can film her conjuring it, and then they can film the formation of Pumpkinhead. There you go, right? All this is getting filmed. Okay, so now instead of it just happening in some little small town, now everybody knows about it. The whole world. So now everybody is like bent on making sure Pumpkinhead don't come alive. It's a law in place to stop people from digging up Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead can't even be found no more. The law that did something with that whole grave. The whole grave has been marked off. It's been, there's no more public access to this grave at all for no one. And bam, there's no more Pumpkinhead movies like Blood Wings or Blood Feud or anything of the like. The whole Pumpkinhead movie is ruined just because of a camera. Everywhere Vengeance is going, somebody's taking a picture of him, they're uploading it to social media, and they're seeing how he's killing people. They see what he's doing, and they're putting an end to it by, like I said, maybe they gonna kill that old woman. They just gonna put a bullet in her ass as soon as she try to conjure up something again. That because she's the cause of it. She's the real reason Pumpkinhead is being conjured up. So there you go. So the movie's finished. If you kill her, Pumpkinhead can't come back to life, right? The movie franchise is finished. Ah, my gosh. All of my childhood favorites are just being ruined. But for the next one. Okay, we're going to talk about Friday the 13th. So I am more of a Michael Myers man myself. But hey, to each his own. Go Ducks, right? But, the mask hockey puck slayer is one that is... This guy just defines the whole generation, the whole movie genre of slashers, But let's go back to the beginning in the first movie. So we're going to go back to his mother doing the revenge killings because in the subsequent entries, it was Jason himself, right? So we're going to pretend that as Jason Voorhees was drowning, that he actually was being filmed, right? So basically, there's cameras all over the Camp Crystal Lake, and basically nobody's having sex while he's drowning, and then there's an iPhone feed of Camp Crystal Lake when he's starting to drown. Somebody jumps in there, and then they start, saving him, and then there's another person, right at the same time, filming the person saving Michael, which then they can show to his mother, and then the mother wouldn't be so pissed off, so she wouldn't be killing everybody. She'd be thankful that they saved her little boy, and now she doesn't have to turn into this crazy Golden Girl Blanche psycho bitch, right? So now, everybody in Camp Crystal Lake has been spared. There's no more Legend of Jason. There's no more hockey mask slayer. This movie is ruined because of the iPhone. Because, in the first movie, basically it was just, people being irresponsible and no supervision, maybe taking their camp counselor duties lightly. So there you go. All that is abated, all due to, once again, somebody having an iPhone and somebody having that iPhone feed kind of loop into theirs, and they can see everything that's going on, right? But I think there's a slight chance maybe somebody wouldn't have gotten to Jason in time, but I digress. But as you can see, this movie, it's still a high probability rate of it being ruined, right? So here we go. So now I want to talk about the next entry, which is Tales from the Hood. Tales from the Hood. So this is a bit of an odd entry, as this movie comprised of 4 short stories into one. Nevertheless, the cell phone would have ruined each of the stories. Now, this is a bit, how can I say? Is it iconoclast? Is that the word? Maybe. discombobulated, maybe. I just gotta say this: that first story with the cops, it still resonates and still holds so much weight that when I was watching it back then, I was like, that problem will be fixed by the time that maybe I get their age or around their age. But, here I am now, 34, and even though that movie came out, maybe 20 or 30 years ago, that first story, it still holds so much weight, like it just came out yesterday. It still just resonates, and it still hits you the same way because of the Trayvon Martins, the Breonna Taylors, the George Floyds, and all that. That first story, it really, it can't even be called fiction at this point. That's like reality, and that's what makes it even scarier. That's what makes it even scarier because you see the difference between that first short story and today is that nobody was able to film that a black man being killed by those cops, right? Now, like I said, if a cell phone was invented back then hey, that cop could have filmed those other cops doing what he did to that black man, and bam, those cops would have been dealt with accordingly, and then the rest of the movie would have been finished, right? But here's the whole thing: in the real world, it took the whole world for that one cop, Derek Chauvin, to be prosecuted. It was only during a world outcry. So it's easy to kind of assume that even if that other black cop would have filmed those white cops, then maybe they still wouldn't have gotten prosecuted. Maybe they would have just got suspended, leave without pay. But you know, it took the whole world for that Derek Chauvin character to be prosecuted. The whole world. If the whole world didn't rally around what went down, nobody would have cared about that. So that's just what I want to say about that first short story. And to be honest, that story is just, it gets scarier and scarier each time you watch it because it's like it's only a thimble of exaggeration, only a thimble, and the only thimble is like the coming back from the dead, with that guy. That's the only exaggeration in that short story. Everything else, it might as well just be any other black man or whoever. But I digress. But as for the next one, so the story of Walter, I think that's scary. Like I said, Walter could have had a cell phone, filmed his dad turn into the monster or the perceived monster in his eyes, and the movie is finished, right? That short story is finished, and there's no more, right? It would have been ruined. They wouldn't have been able to make it because not only would he have had all of the video evidence, but these children all have cell phones nowadays too. So they would have been able to film everything that was going on. His mother would have been able to film everything going on. They would have been able to film him turn into this green monster with black boots or whatever. The movie would have, that short story would have been finished. It would have been ruined. You wouldn't have been able to watch it. And then the third story with the voodoo dolls and the plantation house owner, that would have been ruined because let's just say he would have had a cell phone back then. He could have had some type of video that seen those dolls coming to life, and then they could have had some. He could have had some type of mechanism, some type of gimbal stabilizer, just maybe filming his whole premises, and then especially when he hit that picture of the grandma and blood came down, he could have had video proof of that. So then, he could have sent that to the authorities, or just uploaded to social media, and then bam, just filming his dolls coming to life and then chasing after him right before he died. Yeah, you see? And the movie would have ended. It would have taken away from the movie. Now, maybe some people would have still thought it was far-fetched and made up, but at the very least, if there was a death there, somebody would have come to investigate. And then the fourth movie, the fourth little short story in this movie, I don't think an iPhone would have changed it too much because, like I said, that's just some stuff that's happening every day. So that one may be an exception, but yeah, that one may be the exception. That fourth short story, where they try to rehabilitate him and put him in this little chamber and try to like MK Ultra him to make him change his ways and stuff. Especially if that happened in California, it's people just robbing stores in daylight. So like if he was in California, he maybe have gotten off if he didn't kill anybody, if he just stole. So that one may be like an exception, even with an iPhone. So maybe, give or take that one, All right, now for the next movie, I want to say Leprechaun. So some people may debate the legitimacy of the Leprechaun as a horror icon, but in my book, he's in the same realm as Chucky and those other monsters, such as Ghostface, right? So when I first watched Leprechaun, I was in the first grade, and I can so vividly remember he was scary, because when the movie came down, he was walking down these little stairs, and then he did this little stuff with his hand, and it was kind of magic-esque, and it was really cool, and his face was scary. He was like, I ain't never seen like a short person who looked like that. So he was just scary to me, and he was killing people throughout the movie in the Grady farm, and, but nevertheless, if there was a cell phone back then he would have gotten caught. People would have found out where his gold was. So it would have been a whole task force of finding four-leaf clovers. There would have been a task force of finding every time a rainbow appeared, and it would have been a task force of an official wish maker. That way they can get the linguistics right of asking for proper wishes when they catch the leprechaun. The movie would have been finished. There's no Leprechaun in the Hood, or Leprechaun this, or Leprechaun in space. Everybody would have known who he was. The movie would have been finished. Everybody would have kept taking his gold and then just wishing that he never came back or something like that. So I think in this way the movie would have been finished. For example, whenever he's driving on the street and he turned that car into like a race car and he's going super fast, somebody would have been filming him, maybe a police officer, maybe have body cams on, seeing him reappear at different points in the forest, seeing him reappear over him. The movie would have been finished, It would have been finished, But, that's just me. Even when he's at the hospital, if they filmed him, being in old man Grady's place, where old man Grady was supposedly, on hospice or whatever in there, if they filmed that part, they would have known to investigate something, to look into something, unless the healthcare system is that fucked up, But, that's a whole nother video, right? But yeah, the movie would have finished. I mean, there's numerous parts where when he's running and then his hand comes through the telephone, they could have filmed that. You know, they could have filmed where he's coming out that briefcase. You know, they could have filmed that. The movie would have been finished. Like I was saying, it would have been some ramifications and some precautions to make sure that never happened again. So that's just me. You know, the movie would have been finished with him coming out that suitcase, basically. Now for the next movie, I want to talk about The Exorcist. So, sweet baby Jesus, take the wheel. Can you imagine how much more faith the world would have if a live exorcism was filmed, right? Can you imagine the number of non-believers who would be converted almost instantly? There would be a new cabinet in the president's administration dedicated just to ridding the world of demons, right? There would be nowhere in the world where demons could hide from the exorcist of America's exorcism armies, right? Or is that Britain? But so here's my whole take. Now y'all remember when that little girl came in there and just peed on the floor? Okay, maybe not so out of the ordinary, but somebody would have filmed it. And then and then you go up to the room. They see the room is kind of cold, and you can see people's breath. So now I'm like, hey, why is it so cold? It's not cold. It's hot outside, right? Something like that. And then you start filming her. You start filming how this little girl has turned into this grotesque monster of a little girl, and she starts levitating. She starts floating in the air, and she starts speaking in all these grotesqueries and vulgarness and all this, and there you go, right? I mean, just filming it and then people seeing it, watching it on the internet, witnessing it happen firsthand, maybe not like a found footage type of thing, but it'd be close to a found footage. But the thing about it'd be verified. People, you can see people dying. The people dying will be confirmed through the news. All of these things will be confirmed. The whole exorcism will be confirmed, right? That's if they was to take a cell phone into the room. Now, if they didn't take one into the room, maybe it's a different story. Maybe. But for this video, we're assuming that they did take a cell phone into the room and they started filming the exorcism while they were doing it. A GoPro at the least, right? So now everyone is taking demons and all these other entities and supernatural forces more seriously. And now this whole movie franchise has been ruined. Because like I said, instead of a small section where this is only happened to, the whole world gets to see it live. There you go. If you film it live, and then people would definitely believe you, right? So now where do you go from there? What's the next movie? I mean, you'd have to erase people's minds, but you ain't erasing that iPhone. That iPhone is coming, and it's still recording. So that's The Exorcist. Okay. Now for my next movie, my last movie I want to talk about is Child's Play. Oh man, I watched this movie so many times. This movie just doesn't get old. It's something about the 80s horror and the animatronics that just really brought that movie to life for me. And that's back when everybody was still in their own gender roles. Kids played with toys. The woman was working and doing what she needed to do. and all that. Men were men, women were women, that type of thing. Boys were boys, girls were girls, whatever. But, that time is starting to slowly, can I say, slip away. Uh, but yeah, Child's Play. What list would not be complete without the classic doll himself, Charles Lee Ray? The whole premise with the first Child's Play was that no one would believe him. Like other horror movies, of course, but him being a child, no one definitely is going to believe him. But since, like I was saying, since so many children know how to operate phones, so many children maybe have phones now, it would have been hard not to catch Chucky coming to life and then saying stuff and then seeing Andy react to him and do stuff and then catching Chucky walk around in the hallways as everybody else is sleeping. Now you could make a case, well, Chucky would be smart and maybe he would turn off the phones. Okay, well, how's he going to turn off the phones? Somebody's got to catch him, right? Somebody's got to catch him turning off the phone, especially if you just leave it on. You got you got cameras all around the house, right? Let's just say that again. Now you catching the doll all around the house, right? And we can move the goalpost further by saying, okay, well, he just wouldn't come in the house, but that's besides the point. The point is that one of them iPhones is gonna catch him. Somebody with a phone is gonna catch him coming to life. All throughout the movie, if you can just plug in an iPhone to that old couple was on the elevator, they would have filmed him. Plug an iPhone when he was coming through the chimney. Plug an iPhone when he was set on fire going through the house. Plug an iPhone when his head was severed from his body and his body was choking the other police officer or detective or whatever. Just plug in an iPhone. Bam. Now everybody would believe you. Everybody would start trying to figure out ways to make sure Chucky never exists again. You see, the movies, these movies are just being ruined by the iPhone, by modern technology. And me, myself, it's just that I really want to enjoy some good horror, but I don't really want, it's like I have to think about the iPhone and how it basically interacts with any modern day horror flick. And for me, it's like it's disingenuous if the director makes a modern horror movie and doesn't include the iPhone or some type of video capturing, because everybody has it. Everybody has some type of video capturing device or something like that. I mean, the only way you can avoid it is if, you're really just poor, and you have no idea. But then again, you would have to seclude yourself to maybe those Amish communities, which I think there was a horror movie about an Amish community. I kind of forgot what it was, but yeah, you kind of get my point here, right? That's the only place where you can kind of keep those superstitions alive, because if you're like a city walker or whatever, if you live in the city, it's just not gonna fly. Your stories aren't gonna get too far, because they're like, and they're gonna tell you, and you didn't film it, and you didn't film it, and you didn't film it. You see, it's always, if it didn't post on YouTube, then did it ever really happen? Well, now everybody's always going to post it for views and likes and everything else. So that's the whole thing, So the way I'm feeling about modern horror is just like, it's like everything else. Maybe, maybe it's just something with the times, but I personally just wish I could just get that feeling like I did when I first watched these aforementioned movies. I just want that nostalgia again. I think that's the reason why we always kind of go back to what we used to watch as children, because we know during this time this is the way it was and it's untouchable. But hey, I digress. That's my whole list of why the iPhone would ruin these horror movies and more if it was invented back during their creation. Thanks. Bye. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel.